Welcome back to another episode of going over commentary on this website. So today, we will be going over the fourth article, I believe, because the last one we did was about the drones. So the fourth article is um, the Minnesota moose. So yes, moose do indeed live in Minnesota, I believe. So it must be covering the Minnesota moose as to what that has to do with the grinning deer. Because grinning deer, they are involved in pretty much everything, so um, they might as well be terrorizing the moose. Who knows? Anyway, without further ado, we will be jumping right into this article, and I will do commentary on the way, as usual. So, the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness is a very large wilderness in northern Minnesota located on the Ontario-Minnesota border. It is a sparsely populated land full of dense forest, beautiful scenery, hundreds of lakes, and abundant wildlife. Among all of this wildlife are the moose that graze on the lush grass on the shores of lakes and swamps. Okay, that paragraph was very informative, and that picture right there is a very nice one, same as that one. I don't believe that either of them are AI generated, so that's a good sign of a website that clearly is giving us facts. I mean, these are all straight to the point. They're all what this guy just said right here. All of them are facts. So, yes, true. This area, however, is not known to have many deer, whether they are grinning or not. Now, why is that? Some might say that there are some areas where deer don't wander. That may be true, but this approach of the topic makes much more sense. So, yeah, the area. So why doesn't the area have many deer? That's the question. And then, of course, some people might say that there are areas where deer don't wander. I mean, of course, it's not like deer are everywhere in every single location on Earth, but in the places where they aren't, you might as well research to see why they exactly are not there. Because Minnesota would be a perfect habitat for deer. And the article is going to jump into why the deer aren't there by their approach of the topic, which they will explain, I think, as we scroll further down. Okay, imagine this. There were plenty of deer in the North Woods in the past. They flourished in their ways and there weren't many problems. That is until the grinning deer population took a sudden boost. The grinning deer outnumbered the mule and whitetail population by far. Here, I think, here is an image of a moose chasing a deer. So what it's saying here is in the past there were a lot of deer in the North Woods, and they had it good there. There weren't any problems. But then the grinning deer population arose suddenly, and that is the issue of why there aren't deer there today. So it says grinning deer outnumbered the mule and whitetail population by far. So that is not good news for those regular deer. I mean, if I were a deer and the grinning deer were outnumbering me, I would take off and flee the scene. I mean, I would definitely leave northern woods if there were a bunch of grinning deer there. So yes, there's a lot of grinning deer in that picture. So, seeing this, what do the unfortunate non-grinning deer do? What do? They can do nothing but approach their fellow moose and ask them for assistance in getting rid of those creepy, evil grinning deer. So, regular deer, um, usually have acquaintanceships with their moose, especially when it comes to grinning deer. Usually, mules and whitetails won't be friends with moose if the grinning deer aren't posing as a threat to their well-being. But in this case, where the grinning deer population is so quickly rising above them, they of course have to reach out to their friends, the moose. I mean, definitely friends in this situation because nobody likes grinning deer. So when there are grinning deer outnumbering you, you have to ask for as much help as possible so you can outnumber them. Moving on. The moose decided to help. Together, the moose and normal population of deer drive the entire grinning deer population sufficiently south so that they don't have them creepily lurking in the woods all the time. So yes, since the moose decided to help the regular deer, and they turned out to be a greater number than the grinning deer. That is, the deer with the moose, the regular deer with the moose, were successfully able to drive the grinning deer enough south so that they don't have them bothering. So, the friendly deer, that is the mules and whitetails, thank the moose. But the moose weren't done yet. In fact, you could say that they had just begun to start. Now, the plot thickens because the regular deer, they thank the moose for helping them drive the grinning deer out. But the moose, apparently, they aren't done yet. What does that exactly mean? And that moose indeed does look very sinister. The moose were getting sick of not just the grinning deer, but mule and white-tailed deer bothered them as well. Wow. So they weren't, obviously grinning deer are going to be annoying to those moose, but apparently the regular deer, they were bothering the moose as well. Maybe the moose just wanted the woods all to themselves. They were greatly sick of their cousins taking all the good grass and whatnot, so the moose, being much bigger, chased all of the deer clear out of the area once and for all. Wow. Just as the regular deer were thanking the moose for helping them. The moose had helped them, but they might as well have just drove the entire deer population out of the northern woods to begin with, because if they didn't like both kinds of deer, they might as well have done that. But ever since this amazing occurrence, the moose have had dominance over the Boundary Waters wilderness. They graze in peace without the deer to bother them. Now that they graze in peace. Peace is definitely a factor here, because if the deer were bothering the moose, and that includes the mules and whitetails, then they probably weren't having much peace as they were trying to graze. So that is the reason why they chased not just the grinning deer, but all the deer out of the northern woods. In particular, the Boundary Water canoe area wilderness. So, and there is a picture of the moose grazing in peace, without any deer to bother them. Now, some folks shrouded by civilization might say that this is just an old Indian legend, and maybe it is. But ponder the story for a while and you may just change your mind. Matters like this are important for you and for me, and especially for the grinning deer community. So yes, if you live in the suburbs or any major urban area, then you just may as well say this is just an Indian legend. But, these things, a lot of this stuff on this website is not just legend. In fact, is very real. Which is why this channel is dedicated to studying grinning deer and alerting our fellow grinning deer studiers, for whoever is interested in the topic. And just anybody else, too. Not just for those interested in grinning deer, those who aren't interested or frightened by grinning deer need to know this. And that includes those shrouded by civilization. So, don't just glance over this article as if it's just an Indian legend, but deeply ponder the story for a while, and you may just change your mind. And yes, very important. And when it says grinning deer community, we're not talking about like the grinning deer. This isn't good for the grinning deer. We're not doing this for the grinning deer. We're doing this so that we can warn others about grinning deer, which is the most important thing. So, yes, 3 likes here. 1 response to the Minnesota moose. Very beautiful Mildred grinning moose. Okay, interesting. So, yes, I guess the guy who writes these articles, his name is Mildred. But anyway, this was quite a short article, but overall, very informative. Now, if you have any questions, and you can write in the comments down below about grinning deer, about moose, the Northwoods, anything that was covered in this article, or in past videos where I made comments on articles, you can ask questions about those too. So, with that being said, make sure you like and subscribe to the Grinning Deer YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.